Today's networks have an insatiable appetite for data storage in this era of big data, where we're collecting and storing more database information than ever before in history, and users expect access to that data 24/7, and they want it fast. This comes at a time when IT budgets are being squeezed and CIOs are under tremendous pressure to do more with less. The result is the IT department needs more cost-effective data solutions that don't compromise on security or reliability. To meet this challenge, QSAN has developed the Xcubesan XS5200 series SAN storage solution. The Xcubesan solution is much more advanced in key technological areas than comparable SAN storage solutions from HP or EMC, but it doesn't cost more. For example, the Xcubesan series features dual active controllers to guard against one controller or connection host failure to fail the storage. It has redundant power supplies and storage controllers. In fact, the Xcubesan series is designed with no single point of failure as a core design philosophy. With 2 ports of embedded 10 gig networking per controller and optional fiber channel host cards, the Xcubesan can achieve a staggering 208 gigabits per second, and you're not locked into 10 gig iSCSI or fiber channel host interfaces. You can use both concurrently if maximum connectivity is desired. You can start small with the XS5200 series 12, 16, or 24 drive base unit and scale up as your storage needs do by adding QSAN XD5300 series DAS enclosures. 12 and 6 gigabit SAS architectures are supported internally, and for external expansion to fully leverage storage you already have, 3+ petabytes of total storage is possible with the Xcubesan system. The XS5200 series has some impressive storage management and security features too. Thin provisioning and volume snapshots are supported. Optional SSD read cache populates more frequently used hot data in SSD drives, and SSD write cache buffers write I/O to improve overall IOPS. The XS5200 series is certified by Microsoft, VMware, and Citrix for virtualized network support. The Xcubesan XS5200 series features 5th generation Intel Xeon D1500 processors with 4 cores and can achieve up to 1.5 million sequential IOPS. And when coupled with a 12 gigabit SAS SSD drives and fiber channel connectivity, a whopping 12,000 megs per second read and 8,000 megs per second write throughput. But the impressive hardware specs are only half the story. The Xcubesan features an equally incredible operating system, SANOS 4.0, which stands for SAN OS. SAN OS is used to configure the Xcubesan, create and manage storage pools, set RAID levels, configure data parameters, and set up recurring backups and even remote replication for maximum data availability and redundancy. SANOS continuously monitors the health of critical system components and drive health and will alert the IT administrator if trouble is brewing before it's too late. In short, the QSAN Xcubesan XS5200 SAN storage solution is an incredibly affordable, high-performing storage solution that can scale up and grow with you and is an incredibly reliable and secure platform for storing mission-critical data. QSAN is data storage, security, and performance. Let's talk about a few basic things before we open the XS5200 and configure it for installation in the rack. In front of me, we have the 12-drive Xcubesan and the basic accessories it comes with. In addition to the chassis, you'll find 2 AC power cords, serial cables, drive trays, which I've already slid into the unit, rack mounting hardware, and a printed quick start guide. You might also have purchased additional accessories, including one 4-port 16 gigabit fiber channel module, or a 4-port 10 gigabit Ethernet module, or a 1 gigabit Ethernet connection module. Other optional accessories include cache to flash with either battery backup or supercapacitor modules. Most configurations will have the base configuration of 2 10 gigabit networking ports only on each of the controllers. You also may have ordered extra RAM DIMM modules. The base memory of 8 gig ECC DDR4 RAM per controller is expandable to 64 gig per controller. Let's talk about drive selection. On the QSAN website, you will find the latest matrix of qualified SAS drives for use in the XS5200 series units. 12 gigabit SAS 3.0 drives will naturally give the best performance. However, older 6 gigabit SAS drives will work, and you can mix and match to some degree. Seagate enterprise capacity and HGST UltraStar drives are good choices. I have a helper for this part of the video. Thank you so much, Kurt, for helping.
You're welcome.
Now let's take a tour around the XS5200 enclosure and see what's what. This 12 drive model is a 2U format enclosure with 12 hot swappable drive trays. The drives are numbered starting from the top left, 1, 2, 3, 4, then starting at the next row down, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. Most of the interesting items are on the rear of the unit. Here we have the two controllers. You will see they have exactly the same ports, 10 gigabit LAN ports, 1 gigabit LAN port, and 12 gigabit micro SAS expansion ports. There are also 2 USB 3.0 ports, console, and service ports. Further down, you will see the AC power plug. Note there are 2 because the unit features redundant power supplies. These small covers here are for the cache to flash modules. Right side is the power module, and left side is the flash module, which are additional optional items. Here in the middle of the unit, slot 1 is where the optional 4-port 16 gigabit fiber channel connection modules, 4-port 10 gigabit or 1 gigabit iSCSI connection modules will install. In addition, slot 2 is where the optional 2 to 4-port 10 gigabit or 1 gigabit iSCSI connection modules are installed. All connection modules are field replaceable and can be done while the Xcubesan is running. Okay, Kurt, let's pull the controller out and see what it looks like.
Sounds good.
You can see here on the controller, the RAM DIMM modules can be changed out as desired and to add more memory. If you're going to add more memory, you want to make sure you use the QSAN DDR4 ECC RAM modules as they're certified to work with the XS5200. If you're going to install the fiber channel or 10 gigabit, 1 gigabit iSCSI modules, they plug in right in the front. As you can see, everything is solidly built without cables. There's no needless clutter to trap heat or create a stress failure. Remember, this unit is built with no single point of failure for maximum uptime and reliability. Now what we need to do to get this unit integrated is populate some of the drive trays with drives. It's a good idea to mount the chassis in the rack without the drive trays installed to cut down on the weight. This is at least a 2-person job to mount the chassis in the rack, so Kurt's going to join me in the server room and we're going to get this installed. Here we are in the data center where we're going to get our XS5200 integrated. For our example today, we're going to configure into a fairly straightforward 10 gigabit iSCSI connection. Since we have a dual active controller in the Xcubesan and we want maximum connection redundancy, we're connecting both controllers to the 10 gigabit switches, so a failure in either controller or either switch will keep us online. With all 4 10 gigabit ports populated, we can aggregate the performance to a maximum of 40 gigabits per second. We can at any time add fiber channel connectivity by installing the appropriate modules into the XS5200 enclosure and upgrading the data center to fiber channel. If we need to expand our storage, We simply add QSAN DAS enclosures and connect them to the base unit with the mini SAS cables available from QSAN. The first time we connect to the XS5200, we can use the default username admin and password 1234. You should immediately change this in the initial configuration steps or settings menu option. Let's first take care of a few housekeeping tasks, namely setting up notifications on the XS5200 so it can alert us if any monitored component or system is having an issue. We do this in the notification setting. We can add multiple email addresses for messages to be sent to.
Okay.
Next, let's go ahead and build a storage pool and create a RAID for some data redundancy. First thing we need to do is set a spare drive. Next, let's create a storage pool of 3 drives with RAID 5 for some redundancy. For our small network, we can get away with RAID 5 so we only lose 1 drive for parity, but we'll have the ability to fully rebuild a drive automatically if it fails and is replaced. RAID 6 or 10 will give you higher redundancy, but at the cost of more drives being used for parity instead of pure storage. RAID 30, 50, 60 can be implemented if you have many drive expansion units connected via iSCSI. Okay, that's all done. Now let's create a volume. Let's shoot for 100 gig volume. How's that sound? This concludes the basic installation video. We will be producing a secondary video that will be a deeper dive into the Sanos advanced configuration for the QSAN XS5200 series. If you need any assistance, please reach out to the QSAN support via the QSAN.com website or send an email to support@QSAN.com.